Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. This is the Belizean Affairs Show number 401. 401. My name is Leonard Brackett. I'll be your host for tonight until the chairman shows up. In the interest of time, we have launched. We're now live. We're grateful for those of you who will be with us tonight as we broadcast live, and also for those whose time will be spent uh, reviewing our programs at some other occasion. So we just want to go ahead and do our preliminary for our show as we normally do, and after which we'll indulge with the rest of the program. So I'll just bow my head for a few minutes and say a short prayer. Loving Father, we come before thee once more, asking that thou would accept our humble expression of gratitude and thankfulness to thee for having given us the privilege of life and the opportunity to still be alive among our family members, friends, and loved ones. Please bless our children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, those of us who have. Please bless the rest of our extended family members, our significant ones and others, brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, aunts. And please bless our country of Belize, its people and leadership, as well as this country of the United States, its people and leadership. And we pray that thou must bless the rest of humanity as well, loving Father. Thou knowest our hearts, our desires, even our most secret thoughts. Please let the words of our mouth and the meditation of our mind and the contriteness of our heart be acceptable before thy divine presence, for we ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much for allowing us to indulge in that part of our program. And we'll choose here. We're reading from, let me see, Jeremiah. No. Let's go Ezekiel. No. Let's go back. Go this way. Isaiah, Proverbs. We'll take a little reading from the book of Proverbs. And we'll read Proverbs chapter 3, starting at verse 1. It says, My son, forget not my laws, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck, write them upon the tables of thine heart. And that is the reading for tonight. I'd just like to make a few comments in regards to some of the traffic accidents and some of the other mayhem that's going on in our country. It's unfortunate that we keep making these public announcements and these requests for people to please be kind to each other and be cautious when you're driving. I noticed on one of the piece of news that came across the internet recently, probably a day or so, that a motorcycle driver was complaining because a bus driver just blew past the guy. You know what I mean? Like, there was no consideration that that bus driver could have hit that guy. He swung from one lane into the other lane and then came back in front of the gentleman on the motorcycle. And a lot of people in the country are claiming that the motorcycle riders have to go and take driving course. They have to do a whole lot of process now because the previous commissioner was of the impression that the motorcycle drivers was the ones at fault, when in fact the insurance companies based on the claims and based on all the other records that they had available to them, had stipulated that a lot of these accidents are caused by drivers who are indifferent, who drive on the road as if they could care less about anybody else's safety. In fact, in some instances, they don't even act as if they care about their own safety. And when I saw that piece of tape, I think it was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, it just really ticked me off. You know, it really made me mad to realize that these bus drivers are carrying passengers in their buses and are so disdainful to the motorcycle riders and other civilians using the same roads that, you know, that particular individual could have caused an accident. And what would have happened to his passengers or to that motorcycle gentleman? You know, then they would have turned around and said, well, they didn't mean for it to happen. If you don't mean for it to happen, stop acting stupid. That would be my way of interpreting, you know, whether or not you did mean for it to happen or not. Because when you behave like that on the road, having no regards for the health and well-being of the other road users, then it means that your apologies don't amount to nothing when the accidents they happen. Of course, if nothing happened to you, you don't mind, you go home. But the other people who are in the accidents who get hurt, they probably go to the hospital or to their graves, you know, and leave a whole lot of mayhem and hardships on the rest of the community. So, in the interest of public safety, I just want to repeat, you know, I don't have the mass reach like some of the other media houses have, but I wish they would be as concerned and would pursue, you know, haggling and hassling about these particular issues, because at the end of the day, a lot of people are left without their providers. You know, some of these people out on the streets are the ones that are providing for either their wives at home or their husbands at home or their children at home or their other elderly parents or whatever. You know, I mean, we just can't be that indifferent. So I'd just like to ask you, the drivers out there, man, tone it down a little bit. Get more serious about your own health and well-being and the well-being of others. Be a little bit more considerate. Thank you very much. And I don't see our chairman for the night yet, so I'll just proceed. I'll do a fill-in program. Just give me a second. Let me turn on another part of our program here for the other listeners and to be able to tune in. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so I got that covered. And just leave the rest of that. Okay. I'll just proceed with an alternative program for the evening. If you give me another minute, let me just pull up my resources here. Mm-hmm. Let's see quickly. Going to my archives. And then I'll just see if I pick this one. No, I don't want to do that one. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll tell you. I have an article here that I would like to read, and as a fill-in for tonight's program, uh, it says the following comments were made by Leonard, Brackett, being myself, and Mr. Elston Wade, and Mr. Hillman Haylock, and Mr. George Myritt, as part of a thread from a Facebook post by me about Belize foreign PM foreign statement against Commonwealth and Belize Republic possibilities. I titled it Belize PM and Belize Going Republic. And I initiated the conversation by saying, Mr. Elston Wade, our dear esteemed, learned patriot, venerable brother, and vanguard of Belize. I proceeded to say, it is unfortunate and regrettable that you appear to not be aware or informed or care as to how the aggregated dots line up against our patrimony Belize. In regards to the Belize, in regards to Belize's precarious existence or existential position with a bellicose neighbor, Guatemala, by name, who has a miseducated, misinformed population of 16 million, whereas Belize has only 500,000. I went on to stipulate that that country of Guatemala claims our country in their constitution, saying, Belice es nuestro y lo conseguiremos por la razón or la fuerza. That is to say, in English, Belize is ours, and we will get it by reason or by force. Unlike other Caribbean countries or islands not being claimed by anyone or bellicose neighbor except for uh, Guyana and the problem they were having with the Venezuelans. I went on to say it was the Honduras Bay people whom requested military support from a Jamaican British garrison to stave off Yucatan's Spanish troops and secured our positions and possessions of Belize to this date. I also went on to stipulate by saying they who advocate for Belize to become a Central American republic, independent, defenseless power that are ill-informed or miseducated or fifth columnist traitors, facilitators, aiding and abetting Guatemala's cause, wittingly or unwittingly, in detriment of our patrimony, Belize. Mr. Elston Wade had made a comment. I'll read his comment. Mr. Elston Wade, it baffles me that some Belizeans want to remain under a foreign head of state rather than a Belize head of state. That's what Mr. Elston is saying. And he continued on, but again, that is expected. When you are uninformed, and he went on to say as well, they use similar arguments against independence. That is before we got our independence. And the CCJ, which I think he meant the uh, ICJ, because the CCJ is actually the Caribbean Court of Justice, and I'm sure that he was making reference to the ICJ, which is the International Court of Justice, where currently Belize is answering to Guatemala's claim against the territory of Belize, to which my previous comments were referring. Anyhow, uh, after he made that comment, uh, a venerable friend of mine, who with whom I grew up and was involved heavily in the politics of our country early on, in our youthful days, by the name of Mr. Hillman Haler, recently deceased. He said in his commentary or rebuttal or contribution to the discussion, Mr. Haler said, I believe, like the patriot, the Honorable Philip Golson, I still don't see anyone else in the background yet, so I'll just continue. Mr. Haler went on to say, I believe, like the patriot, Honorable Philip Golson, that there are fifth columnists in the country working with the enemy. This has been happening for a long time now, he said. He went on to say they want to appease the enemy, which is, as far as we are concerned and believes, that would be Guatemala. They want to appease the enemy by changing the constitution and getting out of the Commonwealth. Once this is done, it will be much easier to get rid of the British presence in Belize. For that is what Guatemala, the IOM, and the OAS, and the UNHCR, meaning the United Nations Human Rights Commission on Refugees, and other entities are working for or towards. Mr. Gregory, Mr. George Mivit, another esteemed friend, contributed a comment to what we were saying by stipulating in his words, two down, one to go. At first, there was the decision to go the route of the ICJ to assure Guatemala more than an even chance of territorial acquisition. He also continued on by saying, secondly, there is the move of amnesty to all to exacerbate the ethnic balance against the Afrocentric people in Belize, but to also dot the I's and cross the T's to assure an even greater Guatemala majority in the country of Belize. And now this, the final insult of going republic, just like Guatemala, and alienating any sentiments of the British to come to our assistance in case of an emergency or a bellicose invasion by Guatemala. That became the focus or the excerpted parts of that particular thread. I still don't see anyone in the background, so I'll proceed further. There were some relevant comments made thereafter in regards to what transpired before. And one comment was made by Mr. Elston Wade, who was one of the commentators above, as was indicated. He went on to say, you started with the wrong premise, which led to the wrong conclusion. Nowhere in the article did the Prime Minister speak against the Commonwealth. His comment was that Belize will likely become a republic. Now, he had additional comments, but I'll stop at that because that is precisely the focus of my original comment, to which he had made another comment earlier. That is that I was commenting on the Prime Minister's previous comment when he was abroad in England, where he met some reporters over there and stipulated to them that it was the desire of the government to go republic, to change our system of governance. And he was doing that in England in the face of the British people, knowing that our head of state, to whom he is accountable and is a subordinate officer in the governance of our country, is the very same head of state for Great Britain or for the Commonwealth. So basically, what he was doing was to like this, was like saying, "In your face, this is what I'm saying," stipulating as to offend the British or to offend the people, who have kept us in good stead from being invaded by our bellicose neighbor Guatemala. So he was actually at that point behaving as if he was a captured agent operating on behalf of Guatemala, instead of being our prime minister dealing with a foreign affair statement that should accrue to the well-being and benefit of our country, Belize. For all intents and purpose, it could be construed as committing sedition, committing treason, while not at home, but then go back home and do not say what he had said abroad to others in the face of our people. Why? Because he would have expected to have some repercussions or some kickback or pushback. But that is the onerous way in which the people that we have as governance operators in our country behave. They're disdainful of our local Belizean people, and they're operating contrary to our best interests. And that is to say, at the highest level at that, which is a lot more treacherous. It is bad enough to have foreign agents in your country as ambassadors or whatever kind of operators they are. But it's even worse when you have your own leaders operating as if they are captured agents operating and working on behalf of foreign interests. And to hell with the Belizean interests. That I cannot abide, which is the reason for which I made the initial comment. But then, in Mr. Elston Wade's original retort to my comments, he was stipulating as if I wasn't probably aware of what I was talking about, and I was making a misstatement because of my level of ignorance at that point, apparently, as perceived by him. But now he's acknowledging that, in his own words, that there should be nothing wrong for our country to go republic, which is what I was complaining about. Now, if he understood the context of everything that I was intimating at the time, he would understand that I was intimating the fact that the British have helped us in the past. It was us, Belizeans, not under the name of Belizeans at the time, because Belizean is just a new name that we have acquired prior to independence. Okay? We used to be British Honduras. And before British Honduras, we used to be a colony. And before we were a colony, we were, what you'd call an independent country, for lack of any other way of saying it at that time, other than the fact that we didn't have the military means by which to sustain our independence, which is why we asked the British to come in and help us to defend ourselves against the efforts of the Yucatan Mexican Spaniards at the time. I see someone coming up in the background. I'll just let them. I think it seemed to me like it's the chairman for tonight. So I'll let him put himself on, and as soon as he comes on, I'll just cease and desist what I'm doing and just let him take the show because it's his show tonight. I was just trying to fill in so we didn't kill the airtime. But nevertheless, on that point, he's available right now. The chairman is available. So, Mr. Chairman, can I just say just a couple of words, maybe less than a minute, to
Go
close
ahead,
out what I
sir.
was saying? Okay. So, Belizeans at home and abroad, I did not finish reading the whole of this thing, and so we'll have to take it up at some other time. I just want to read the last part of what Mr. Elston Wade was saying at the time, just out of basic courtesy to him, as well as yourself, who have heard part of it and did not get the benefit of hearing the rest of it. I'll just read the last part, which went on to say, okay, said his comment was that Belizeans will likely become a republic. Belizeans cannot become a republic or would not have become a republic uh, by virtue of the people demanding it because the people have not been demanding it. It was the prime minister at that time speaking out of order and out of tone. And as a matter of fact, uh, I'll just read the last little piece here. It says, of the 54 members of the Commonwealth, 39 do not have the British monarch as head of state. But Belize does. And they're trying to do something about it. That is to say, relinquish the British or have the British relinquish head of state of our country in order for them to snap up the rights and powers and authority onto themselves. But there's a process and a procedure for that. I'll read the last few words. And they particularly, and they participate fully in the Commonwealth as a republic. I'm pretty sure Belize will remain, and there's Seymour. So I don't want to go into the rest of the Seymour because you know, I need to yield to the chairman. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for the privilege to articulate what I was articulating there. I can't finish it up until a future date. I yield back, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
You're
Good
welcome, sir.
night to you, the people at home and abroad. I want to thank you for tuning in to this, our 401 episode of Belizean Affairs. Tonight, we want to go and have an open discussion about damage control within the present government and its PUP party. So, to get to that, I want to go to the first step.
My friends, our party listens to the people. When we listen to the people, we succeed. When we listen to the people, we continue to win election after election after election after election. I am confident that next year, in March of 2027, we are going to win every single municipal election in this country.
I go to you, Mr. Brackett, for your comment on that.
Uh, my first comment would be that the gentleman is known for speaking out of order and out of term. But in this instance, I'll give him a kudos and say that as a politician, he was expressing a realistic political thought. That is that each politician would like for the public to vote for them as often as is possible so that they can remain in power as long as possible. But what he failed to say in that short discourse that you played just now on the tape, is that when the politicians win the elections, them back to back to back on how many times they get to win, it is the politicians' responsibility to do what's right on behalf of the people who vote them in office, because that's the reason why the people vote them in office. He did not mention that 2 terms now, they fail the people, and the people still vote them in back in office on the false premise and promises that they made to the people to correct the wrongs that they had done before. Now that they're still in power and governing, they are misusing and abusing the power vested in them, and power is not invested in them, as a matter of fact, as well, to do harm to the people and country. So now they're having these gatherings trying to whip up momentum to say, well, the people are behind them, they voted them in, and because they are in power, they are supposed to be allowed to run the country in the ground and to commit malfeasance, to rip off money from the treasury, to steal assets out of the public domain, and that should be all right. And because they got caught with their hands in the cookie jar, they are now saying, okay, well, they would listen to the people and do what's right. And they're banking that because they have just been re-elected, that the powers that they have been elected with a super majority, should allow them to go ahead and do what they got caught trying to do with their hands in the cookie jar. That is, to go ahead and use BTL, which is a public asset, to go ahead and buy the Prime Minister's family's business, for them to enrich themselves while we pick up their business that is not viable and helpful to us. He needs to cash out. So he will use his position in power to help his family get rid of their old assets at our expense or on our dime. I don't think he's stupid. I think he's just maybe crazy. Or he thinks that we are crazy. Are you back, Mr. Chairman?
It's essentially for BTL.
Are you back, Mr. Chairman?
To halt any discussions they're having between each other. What the discussion is already.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. But as I pointed out, it is damage control. You heard what he said.
Mm-hmm.
The PUP government listens to the people when the people speak. But that is not coming from that. What is happening, and anyone who follows up on what is happening within the party would know why this is coming about. Sunday they had this big event in Belmopan, but that event was for damage control.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you why. Because there was certain ministers who was not included or not along with what was happening with the BTL acquisition. And I want to go to the tape. This is what one minister...
Consultation is never enough. I think there's a misconception that you have these privately, publicly owned companies and they believe that they don't own, they don't have to consult with the Belizean people. That I have a serious problem with. You either own it or you don't own it. And we own it. So if we own it, then you have to come to us to ask our opinion. And that's why Cabinet was reluctant in making a position, because it was waiting for all the consultations to happen, including with the media. The media is extremely important in this. The concern that the media has if you have a monopoly and it can affect them in the future is something that has to be addressed. And it has to be put in place before an agreement is done. It's just my point of view. And that we need competition, well, from the day I was born, that is what I believe in having competition. And the reason that you have 2 telecom companies is because the concept of competition was there from the beginning. So I have listened to what BTL has had to say, and as a company, any company wants a monopoly. Channel 7 would want it, Channel 5 would want it, plus TV would want it. Everybody in the business community would love a monopoly, but that doesn't mean that it is in the best interest of the consumers, and that is where I believe we have to be looking at and considering.
were present for the cabinet meeting when BTL, you didn't request that the Prime Minister step aside due to conflict of interest.
He proposed, and cabinet decided that it wasn't necessary.
Why?
That was a cabinet decision. Yes.
No, we heard that. And as I mentioned, Sunday, they had an event in Belmopan. But that event, as I specify, was to do damage control within the party. And I will show you why it is damage control. If we go back to the tape and listen keenly to what the Prime Minister said.
My friends, our party listens to the people. When we listen to the people, we succeed. When we listen to the people, we continue to win election after election after election after election. And I am confident that next year, in March of 2027, we are going to win every single municipal election in this country.
You heard it. When we listen to the people, but he was not listening to the people. Because if he was, we wouldn't be having this picketing and this opposition and unions opposing the acquisition of SpeedNet.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, sir.
When the gentleman, in fact, I don't want to use the term as gentleman when I'm referring to this scoundrel. He's a scofflaw and a scoundrel, okay? As well as a bamboozler extraordinaire. So I don't need to refer to the person, in terms of niceties and whatever else not. Okay. I find it hard to be able to do it when I know it's the right thing to do, but I still find it hard to do it. This gentleman is talking craziness about when his political party listens to the people. The people that he is talking about is not the whole country. He doesn't care what the opposition they have to say. He doesn't care what anybody else have to say. When he made that reference and used the statement about when his party listened to the people, he's patting his party and party supporters on the back, trying to appear like he's being decent to them, when in fact he's doing the same thing to them as he's doing to the rest of the country. He's smiling in their face and treating them. What the gentleman is attempting to do, as you said, rightfully so, is to whip up his party members and his supermajority that they have in the House to give him the backative for him to proceed to get money out of the BTL coffers by BTL buying over his family assets and the Ashcroft assets. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. But he don't feel like his party members or his colleagues should be worrying about that as an issue. They have a supermajority, but yet he doesn't have a majority, much less a supermajority, in cabinet. And he's having difficulty with members of the cabinet. More likely, a majority of them are against what they see that he's trying to pull off. So now he resorts to go and talk with the people from the Corozal and Orange Walk, the northern districts, which they call the Northern Caucus, to give him support. He can't get the support out of cabinet because the members of cabinet, there's about 5 or 6 of them that are totally against what he's trying to do. And without enough of their acquiescence in order for him to get a majority in cabinet, because that's the way whole cabinet is supposed to work, the majority rule. If he can't suborn enough of them, he will not be able to get this deal done, because regardless of what the PUC decides if and when they get a purchase agreement submitted to them to acquire for BTL to acquire Smart, the PUC could say yes or they could say no. But it is largely left to the majority shareholders to seal the deal. And they were trying to have that deal sealed without the shareholders knowing what the devils they were doing behind the board meeting doors. They wanted to lock the board members into that meeting, have them decide that they was going to acquire those things, and then Mr. Ashcroft would have used that as a basis to say, well, the board had decided, and normally when the board decides, they're supposed to carry the day because the board is deciding on behalf of the people in whose trust they hold those shares. When in fact, we the Belizean people who own the shares would not have been any more the wiser that a decision was made contrary to our best interest by people who were suborned. They don't owe their allegiance to the Prime Minister because he appoints them. They owe their allegiance to the people who own the asset. The Prime Minister is just acting, or should be acting, in good faith and taking care of the fiduciary responsibility placed on him in regards to these assets. But I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. But it goes beyond that.
You're welcome, sir.
And you keep mentioning the name Ashcroft. And I want to show the people tonight something very important as to how we are where we are. Let me go to a tape to hear what the Prime Minister had to say.
One point, Mr. Chairman, before you play the tape. Why I keep mentioning Mr. Ashcroft is because he is majority shareholder of Smart.
You are right, Mr. Brackett. You are right. That is why I said what I said. Because that will be a part of the point that I want to show tonight.
Which then also means that the Prime Minister is suborning his powers of authority in governance to the will of his majority shareholders. How come the hell he can't demand that we the people as majority shareholder in BTL, all rights be looked after and be respected? But he can respect Mr. Ashcroft's rights.
Let me go to the tape, Mr. Brackett.
Bunch of cons.
So the instruction is essentially for BTL and SpeedNet to halt any discussions they're having between each other.
Well, that discussion has already happened. What is happening now is and I don't know all the details. Yeah, I think Minister Shabat would be the best person that you that could answer you. But basically, is to be able to for the Public Utilities Commission to put everything on a stop. Let's say, okay, guys, we legally should step in. We should have been the first one. You should have come to, and for us to be able to take a look at what is it that you're proposing. So that by itself is we're going to do that. Also, there's supposed to have been regulations a long time ago.
Now, people at home and abroad, you heard what the Prime Minister was saying about this pass and how PUC should have stepped in first. I want to say this, PUC had nothing to do with this. And even with them going to Belmopan and calling in all their supporters, that will not help them because they still have to go to the National Assembly to try to either amend and repeal the current Telecommunication Act or do an informal amendment to try to override the Parent Act, and I can't see that happening. But
not that they wouldn't try, Mr. Chairman, because that's for all intents and purposes what they have been trying to do when they talk about the minister was going to make an SI, which cannot trump the Parent Act. But they think that everybody out there are a bunch of fools, and we're just emotional and we don't know what the devil is going on. Are you back, sir? I'm sorry.
Thank you. and to let you, the people at home and abroad, see how when the Prime Minister said something last year, I believe he was talking in a great blunder. And I want to go back to what he had to say so that you at home and abroad can think to yourself, because we are living it today. In reality, two things. One, that the past Prime Minister called out in the House when he mentioned about BTL to the Prime Minister, to the then leader of the opposition if he became Prime Minister, and two, what he personally had to say. Here we go.
He says that Belize, the environment in Belize is not conducive to foreign investment and that the government is a part of that.
Should I say? No, but on a serious, Michael Ashcroft has done very well in Belize, exceedingly well. And if he wants to take his money elsewhere, then he should take it. It doesn't bother us for a moment. Foreign investment in Belize continues to increase. In 2025, 2024, we have record foreign investment. So it's his decision. It's his money. He could do what he wants with it. I think I don't know what climate he talks. I think if he wants a climate where we bend over and give him whatever he wants, that's not going to happen in Belize. We got into government. We met with him. We negotiated with him hard, and I think we got a good deal in the settlement. It is unfortunate that then Prime Minister Barrow chose the route of litigation, cost us hundreds of millions of dollars, and I think that I come from from a business background, and that you negotiate to try to settle, and that's what we did with him. The port was going nowhere because the port he was not did not get clearance from the NIAC. Then he wanted to beat us into submission and took out endless ads, and Channel 5 and Channel 7 did very well during that time, with all of these ads. But that still did not beat us into submission. We are a sovereign nation, and we decide what is in the best interest. He had control of that port for many, many years, and that port was making between 12 and 14 million dollars every year, and that money was supposedly paying some loan somewhere for something. I don't know what was done, because when you look at the assets of the port, or the conditions of the port, is deplorable, and so his people, or him, or whosoever, felt that we're not going to do nothing with the port, so we're going to force the government to give us what we want. We decided we're going to meet with him and said, if you don't want to do the investment, because you have an obligation on your license to be able to have a container port, not a cruise port. And so we decided it's in the best interest of this country to sit down with him and buy over the port. And that's what we did. And now he wants to take his money elsewhere, he's welcome to do so. He wants to sell out the Belize Bank, he's welcome to do so. I think people will be happy.
But isn't that what the Prime Minister is doing right now? Bending over for Mr. Ashcroft that he just in this tape described? Because if he is listening to the people and he knows the Telecommunication Act is based on competition, why is he trying to bypass the National Assembly and trying to induce the Public Utilities Commission to put this deal forward, knowing quite well it cannot happen that way? I go to you, Mr. Brackett.
Not only that it cannot happen that way, he always claims that he doesn't know when he gets caught, and he feels embarrassed. But when he thinks that we, the public or the people out here, are not supposed to know, he pretends that he knows so much. to try and lie to us, only to be found that he's lying because he don't even have the capacity to lie properly with a straight enough face. He lies gratuitously, and every time he opens his mouth and says something, people go and check, and people find out that he's been lying. So nobody believes his lie, because what he said in that tape that you just played just now is contrary to what the facts were at the time when the situation was happening. And I'll ask that you indulge or permit me to quickly validate or verify what I'm trying to intimate. In the past Musa administration, that same gentleman that we're talking about right now was the deputy prime minister. So he was way up into the administration of that Musa term. And he knew that they had given our Belizean asset or port, which was a government-owned entity at the time, they had given it to themselves under the name of Mr. Espat, who was holding it in trust for the rest of them. That he did not go on to explain just now when he was talking on that piece of clip. But he should have known that much, because I knew that much. And he, as Deputy Prime Minister, should have known as much and even more. They went on to use that port as a collateral for $40 million, I think it was 38 million, somewhere between 38 and $40 million loan from Mr. Ashcroft. And on top of that, they used the money that they had gotten to build that big hotel behind the MCC grounds. That big building that is back there. I don't know what they're using it now for. They could not come up with the money to pay the schedule of payments. So Mr. Ashcroft gone, and he took over the running of those business, okay, and the receivership status. And that's what the Prime Minister was talking about when he said Mr. Ashcroft was running that port of Belize, which was all government and public-owned property for all those years. Why? Because they trusted it to Mr. The man didn't pay the money, okay? Mr. Espat did not pay for the port. It was trusted to him. They never finished paying for it, and they took the asset and they used it as a collateral to borrow the 38 to $40 million, like I said, and didn't pay the man. So the man took it, like I said, as a under receivership. I think it was between 10 and 13 years. He was getting about $14 million per year over that 10 to 13 years, which would have been like $130 to $140 million. And you want to tell me that after he got that $140 million, $130 to $140 million for a loan that he had given for, let's use the higher number, $40 million. We say it's between 38 and 40, but let's use the 40 as a easier rounded number. He got, over that period of time, for that $40 million loan, he received $140 million. So, for all intents and purposes, that loan should have been already paid off or covered.
Mr. Brackett, let me ask you this question.
Go ahead, Mr.
Set
Chairman.
aside all those things that you are speaking about, which Belizean people should know. Based on the tape that I just played, the way the Prime Minister spoke about Lord Ashcroft, wasn't he explaining to the people that Mr. Ashcroft can take his money and go anywhere he wanted to go? Then why is he caught up right now in Smart SpeedNet acquisition to BTL when Mr. Ashcroft has the most to gain?
Because, Mr. Chairman, he was lying to us then as well, as I previously stipulated. Every time the man opened his mouth, he lied. even when he don't have any need to do so. He was lying to us then, because what was happening is that he had that political deal that they were trying to swing, and they were trying to deny Mr. Ashcroft the opportunity to enhance that port that he had under receivership. And if they had gone ahead and given him that opportunity, he would have buried more of his assets into that port and have more ownership control as compared to just the receivership status.
But let's tie the tape into the BTL acquisition.
Okay, the part with the BTL, he was trying to say that they had paid off Mr. Ashcroft, they got a better deal, and therefore they didn't have to worry about Mr. Ashcroft, when in fact he was lying to us, because he was in business with Mr. Ashcroft owning 88% of the assets of the business, and his family owning the other 28%. I think it was, I don't know the exact numbers because, but the bottom
It's
line is
somewhere
that,
about 77%,
yeah,
something like that.
77.5. Mr. Ashcroft owned 77.5 and his family won 22.5. Okay, that's the exact numbers now that I recall them. But the bottom line is that he was lying to us by telling us that Mr. Ashcroft would take his money and go anywhere where he want, when in fact he was in business with Mr. Ashcroft and facilitating Mr. Ashcroft to take more money. He went and, in addition to the 140 million that I mentioned earlier, he went and he paid the man about $300 million more, according to him, to buy the port back
But
from Mr. Ashcroft.
Mr. Brackett,
He was lying to us when he
I'm
said
not
that they
worrying
bought it.
about that. I'm speaking specifically about what was said on the tape
He
and
said they
how
bought
it's coming
the
back to haunt him in this BTL acquisition.
yes, he said that he bought the port back from Mr. Ashcroft. He didn't have to buy nothing back from Mr. Ashcroft because Mr. Ashcroft didn't own it. He was holding it under receivership till he recovered his $40 million. And Mr. Ashcroft was behaving as if for the 12 or 13 years that he was taking all the assets out of the port, that he had not been paid enough or he did not receive enough. So the Prime Minister was lying to us then, he was lying to us now, and he's still in business with the man. As of right now that we are having this conversation, that he wants to sell the smart company to us, the Belizean people, so that he can get his 22%, he and his family, 22.5%, and Mr. Ashcroft will get his 77.5%. He's still advocating on behalf of Mr. Ashcroft. So when he talk craziness about Mr. Ashcroft taking money and go about the business, he'll lie to us. He think that we don't have no memory or we don't know what's going on. And right now, with the BTL thing, if they really wanted to just get out of the business and sell their assets or their shares, they could have done that to BTL or to the Northern Caucus, since they have so much of an interest, or to any other person. Just sell it to whoever they want to sell it to, that is willing to give them the price that they want to ask for it or accept for it. That's part of business. Any part of the world you go, those things are permissible. But not for him to use the power of governance to force we public board members, them that are in trust of our assets, to facilitate him hustling $80 million out of us. We don't want to go there. If we got to use $80 million, we want to enhance our current situation in terms of BTL. Prepare for the competition that is coming. Rather than to go and buy old junk stuff that is of no use to us and is a redundancy. We already have enough redundancy in BTL right now. So why are they going to buy another company that is less capable than BTL, has nothing to offer BTL other than some rusty piece of metal from some towers that they had? They're not even giving the name up because they want to use the name to create another new company after the fact. They're not telling the public that. They only wanted to say that they're selling the shares that are on the book. But they could turn right around under the present laws of the country, like any other person, and develop another telephone company. That's not stopping them from doing that currently or in the future, or nobody else from,
Then then
Taking us for
then
fools.
based on what was said on the tape and presently where we at, it is my belief that buying smart SpeedNet is of no use to the Belizean public. And I will tell you why. Smart SpeedNet, the Prime Minister claimed, BTL needs to take it over to get its towers that is already up in rural areas and
Nonsense.
to get its customers. But I want to say this. Why would you buy that for towers when you can take $80 million, invest in Starlink that needs no towers, that need no lines to run? It works with satellite and can go any part of Belize. In return, Smart SpeedNet could buy into Smart Starlink too, and we will still have competition.
Who is to tell you that's not a part of the thing that they have behind the scene that is not disclosed yet to the public? That's plausible and allowable under the present laws.
That is correct. But then when you want to use your action through the PUC and the telecommunication minister to do a side to trump the Constitution,
That's all
you are
part of
telling
it.
the Belizean people you have no respect for the Belizean Constitution. And as I told you before, this Sunday outing that they had was for damage control, because what was happening to them is this.
We have been very concerned about what's going on.
This is what was happening
The
to
poll
them.
question was simply, do you approve of the job that the Prime Minister is doing, that Mr. John Bessono is doing as Prime Minister of Belize? It was a yes, no, don't know, not sure. Now, some people will explain their answer. They were not asked to, but some people did provide explanations for their answer. So that came up. The issue of SMART and BTL came up, and came up several times. And so I would want to do a poll focusing on that issue. So back to your question, I didn't ask about that issue specifically. I asked about the Prime Minister's approval rating. Some respondents who had a negative approval rating of him, they voiced that issue as the reason why their opinion was negative.
So do you believe that that has an impact on how he's being viewed as favorable?
Well, it certainly has. It certainly has, yes. That and other issues.
There you go. It was based on this tape that they hurriedly had this Sunday event in Belmopan, calling in party members from all districts because they had to do damage control. And you heard the Prime Minister saying when the people speak, they listen.
Well,
They had got together and they had came up with the narrative that they would use for that event Sunday. Because if you look back over the past events that happened within this acquisition, some of the ministers were not present. And then now when this Sunday event came up, all of a sudden, it's like a party union. Because this is what happened.
Mr. Chairman, they're trying to put pressure on the ones that were kind of cold-feeted, okay?
No. Listen to this, Mr. Brackett.
That's part of it.
This is what happened. Damage control. And who are they using? Who is best at damage control? Listen to it.
For the first time since we won in 2020, we have a bit of a setback. We have a stumbling to go on, right? Because as you know, we were rolling. A year ago, we were flying high. A couple of months ago, we were flying sky high. Sky high. And then all this talk about the proposed acquisition of Smart came about, and then things get serious. Things get serious, and circumstances suddenly change far away. Listen, I don't like to know. When the Prime Minister, when it was announced that the Prime Minister press the pause button for the acquisition, he made happy. Well, don't tell the truth, you never happy too. Tell the truth, man, you never happy too. The pause, that PUP at its best. When it happened before, you don't know where that. That's not PUP. The pause, the PUP at its best. Because what the pause allows us to do now is to make sure that there is real, genuine consultation with the people of Belize on this issue, so that the technical people from BPL can go all across this country, go to the schools, go to UB, go to the community centers all across the country and talk to the people in our cordial way, in our honest way, in our open way, in our friendly way, and take their time doing it with no gun and nobody head. And if after a couple months of consultation, the people not there with it, then BTL will have to take a chill pill, you know. They will have to take a chill pill. They will have to shelf it. Because ultimately, it's the people of Belize who owns the company. It's not Mr. Lizaraga. It's not the board of BPL. It's the people of Belize.
Damage control at its best, people at home and abroad.
And Mr. Chairman, they all know what he say is true. But at the end of the day, they want BTL go around and make them presentations to everybody in the country, but they don't want BTL provide no documentations so that we the people could evaluate on we own whether or not what they're attempting to do, which is to buy something that is not worth the amount what they try to sell us for, is a good deal. They discussed that deal behind well, I shouldn't call it closed doors. The Prime Minister was on telephone talking to Mr. Ashcroft. Mr. Ashcroft was on telephone talking to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister talked to the people at BTL. The BTL chairman talked to the other board members in BTL, but they produced no documentation. Smart did not produce any kind of documentation to BTL other than the Prime Minister's acquiescence to have the deal done to facilitate his brother and Mr. Ashcroft. We are not into that. No care how many times they come and tell us what they want to tell us. Bring us the proof is our agenda, or what we would like to have as the agenda. Don't go and talk to 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 people in Belize and all over the country or the rural areas of the country. We don't understand nothing about what is it that they're talking to them about. And just to say, well, they were present and they consulted. That's why they like use nowadays the term consult. When the Constitution speaks about consultation, it speaks about putting things to paper and pen, black and white, so people could give an answer, yes or no. It doesn't mean go around and try to bamboozle the people and tell the people all kind of craziness or thing what the people don't understand. And because I went and tell them whether they agree to or not, your consultation constitutes the right for you to go ahead and mistreat them or do anything wrong in their name. Any devil will come tell you that he won't commit a crime or commit a sin in a God's name. It's still a devil. The fact that he's saying they commit that sin on God's behalf doesn't make that sin right. Bunch of idiots.
But as I stated, damage control at its best. And even when they talk to the people and go around and speak to as much people across Belize as they are doing with the PCC Act, guess what? The only way the PCC Act can pass is through a referendum. The only way the BTL acquisition can pass is through the National Assembly. So make it make sense to me.
That's what the Constitution says is required. But they
Make
don't
it
want to
make
follow that.
sense. Make it make sense. So
They
they
just
can jump
half-hours.
high, they can jump low, and have all the meetings with who all they want to. Because at the end of the day, the supreme law of the land defend itself. And just to go back to what one of the senators had to say,
Well, the 42.4 is very, very clear in terms of, in terms of how far they can go, and you cannot do anything. No player can do anything that significantly lessens that competition. If they do, then they're violating the act.
Besides change regulations, to change a substantive act, I believe you do have to go to the House of Representatives.
They teach us in law school that you could do anything you want, right? The question is whether it's lawful. And so that's how I will answer your question, Marisol. The Prime Minister is correct. He can do it. The PUC can do it. They can do it. I think they intend to do it. I think that is the intention, and this is what the people of Belize need to understand. That once the ink has already dried and monies has already been transferred, no court in this country can then go back and say to BTL, give back smart. Reverse that. DG will then be too big to fail, to be penalized, you tax yourself. So when you then come and say, oh, no do this and it was illegal, the remedy then will just be what? Pay the fine.
I want to say this to you, the people at home and abroad. It is the second time within the People's United Party government that we have came to this threshold. We had came to this same threshold before under the past Prime Minister, Mr. Said Musa, when the Social Security Board loaned $10 million to a company called Sunshine Holdings, only to find out that they have not recovered that money, and with interest, it would have came up to $30 million. That is how much the Social Security Board has lost, because when politics collide with these kind of deal, that is what happened. I go to you, Mr. Brackett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. What about the $30 million from the Novella's bus company that was borrowed? The money was transferred into Guatemalan bank accounts. And we never saw the returns on that loan. We didn't saw the loan being paid back, or the loan itself, the original amount being given back, much less the extra profits, that it should have generated. What about the money from the that Mr. Briceño said he had paid off Mr. Ashcroft all outstanding debts? Why is it that we are still now entertaining Mr. Briceño telling us that he has to come up with another $80 million out of BTL so that he can give his family $18 million and the other $62 million to Mr. Ashcroft? Are we to believe that if that deal was to go through, for those who don't know how the system or the process works, are they supposed to believe that Mr. Ashcroft cannot go and start up another telephone company and take those millions of dollars and invest it and enhance that other telephone company to be a better company than BTL? Or that he cannot enter into agreement with Mr. Briceño's family again for them to jointly create another company after selling us off the shares on their existing book, because that's what they were saying they were selling us after they were caught red-handedly. Initially, they were saying they were buying over the whole company, only for us to find out that no, it wasn't the whole company. It was just the people on the what do they call it? The shares out of the company. That the company would sell its shares, it will keep its license to operate probably at some future date. Because after you sell out all the shares, where you want to keep the license for? If you don't intend to come back in a business. But worse than that, the issue is that Mr. Briceño and his family would have gotten our money up front, and like the lawyer, the good lawyer, Mr. Dennison just said on the tape that you played, once that agreement was consummated, it was signed, Mr. Ashcroft would have had then the right to take us to court to demand that he gets his money. And he could have prevailed in court. In fact, he probably wouldn't have to go to court because he's dealing with the same prime minister. That every time Mr. Ashcroft threatened to sue, the prime minister jumped and gave hundreds of millions of dollars. The prime minister took our assets from BTL, the contracts that BTL had from the government, from our own private company, which belongs to us. He took those contracts that we had and gave it to Smart. Now he's expecting us to buy back those contracts to BTL for multiple times or multiple amount of dollars compared to what it's really worth. Not to say the least that they did not buy it from BTL initially. He just transferred those things to his own family's company. That itself was larceny at the time when he did that. He had no justification to do that, other than the fact that they were saying, well, Smart could provide better services than BTL. They were trying to get BTL to go broke. They took away the biggest contracts that BTL had. Now they want us to go and buy it back from them. So every step of the way, they're chancing the Belizean people. And they're hiding their hands. The Prime Minister is telling us constantly, he's not involved. Talk to his brother. It wasn't his brother that entered into business with Mr. Ashcroft. The Prime Minister was the person that entered into business with Mr. Ashcroft. And then allowed his brothers and other family members to come in and hold over shares while he is Prime Minister. And all of that didn't stop him from violating Part 10 of our Constitution, which says that he should not be providing any kind of actions or behavior that contravenes the good order and good standings and bad reflection against the government of the day. He's not abiding by the Constitution. He's a scofflaw. He doesn't believe in the Constitution. They break it right, left, and center. And we are supposed to believe, those of us who are paying attention, I'm talking about right now, those of us who are paying attention are supposed to believe that everything is all right. Under his stewardship, we have seen what he has done. We see what he's trying to get done now. And we're not interested in going in that direction. But he is hell-bent in forcing it to go in that direction, because he's saying we should stop talking about it, stop educating the public about it, stop raising up resistance against what he was trying to do, and let those two private companies, as he calls them, as an idiot. What the hell he gonna call for we public company a private company? Okay? On that alone is a major failure. He has no right to be treating the country like that, and the people like that. So he's going to call it two public companies, let them figure out what they want to do and how they're going to get it done. And once they get it done, he's going to just, for all intents and purposes, rubber stamp it. or if the PUC says no, then some PUC members have to demit their office, like the chairman of the Social Security Board had to demit her office for her refusing to go ahead and sign on a deal that didn't have any kind of documentation that she could have used to validate whether or not that deal was a valid or proper deal. That's the way these guys operate. Anyhow, I see the chairman apparently is off the show. He probably lost connection or something. Let me see how much more time. We have another 10 minutes to go. So until the chairman returns, I'm going to indulge myself in talking a little bit more about what I had started talking when the program started. I'm going to see what time is available. We have another 10 minutes available, and I'm just going to go ahead and fill in on, unless he shows up back again, because it's his show tonight, and I don't want to be monopolizing it, but I don't want the airtime to go dead either, because that's not fair to the listeners. So having just give me a second here. He's not back yet, so strange. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry that we have a little disjointed situation just now. And I'm just going to go ahead and hopefully, yeah. Okay, so I was reading some of the comments that was made after I had read the previous article. There was a comment that Mr. Elton Wade had made, and I read that, and I was going to try and read a few of the other comments that came in afterwards. No? Oh, man, that's 24. That's a lot. That's too much. Okay, so Bill Guerrero first. Like so. Okay, let me just go back to where I left off initially, and hopefully for those of you who was listening to the program when I first started, what I'm about to continue with here will make some kind of sense, because you'll be able to see the continuity. A gentleman by the name of Steve Perrott Rogers had made a short comment. He said, if England was going to come to our aid, why haven't they settled this yet? That is, when he said this, he's referring to the Belize-Guatemala issue. That matter could not be settled in the way that we are now perceiving it, because we are at the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, because Guatemala didn't have a leg to stand on. And some of our treacherous leaders provided them a leg to stand on by giving them a side agreement that, for all intents and purposes, the Guatemalans was trying to use as an agreement to supersede the 1859 treaty agreement, the Bongji Treaty. Because prior to that, the Guatemalans did not want to go to the ICJ. So, unless Mr. Steve Perrott Rogers does not know, understand, and or is aware of the historical facts behind this process, the modern facts in modern day Belize, as well as past historical facts, then his question would seem to be valid within that context of ignorance or unawareness. But in the context of awareness and knowledge, it wouldn't be fair for him to postulate that question the way he did, because then, Great Britain had been with us from the very first time we asked for help back in the 1600s. They have been there and continue to be there. Why? The head of state of our country believes is still the head of state of England or Great Britain or the Commonwealth. I don't know how come, as of today date, he wouldn't be aware of that. So, I'm not being dismissive to his question. I would just like and hope that he would be knowledgeable enough to not postulate questions that are totally out in left field, that doesn't have any true merits to it, or that have less merits than he is trying to attribute to it. I see the chairman try to come back in just now, and he disappeared again. So I guess he's having a little bit more difficulty. We have another 5 minutes to go on the show, so I don't know if he's going to come back in before then, but he can put himself in when he's ready. So I'll just continue on. There's like quite a bit of comments on this particular stuff, right? There's like a section where there's 24 comments that I'm not looking at the details of. Then another 5 comments that I'm not looking at. So then I went back. I'm going to go back to where Mr. George Marvitt, one of the person who had made an original comment, he stipulated well spoken, as part of his additional comment. And then I'm going to read what Mr. Hillman Halak had said. He said, Mr. Brackett, my well-informed and esteemed friend and vanguard of Belize, I saw the extent of your proposed, of your, I'm sorry, let me reread that, please. I saw the extent you represented with Johnny Briceño, who is strongly advocating for Belize, like Jamaica, to be a republic, advocating for an apology and for repatriation for slavery. I don't recall that Mr. Briceño's family or any of his descendants or forefathers were slaves to the British. He says, now these crafty, devious, pretentious pups, who reminds me of Lucifer using all his crafty and diabolic means at his disposal. And I got to expand it a little bit here. Okay. Oh, man, it's a long. I think it's going to go beyond our 5 minutes. I don't think I'm going to be able to read it all. Let me just read another few lines of it. And yeah. Using all his crafty and diabolic means at his disposal to dispel truth with lies to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Dear Briceño and the pup want to show how they are so hurt and affected by slavery and the black people plight, pain and suffering. So much so that now we got to dump the monarchy and alienate ourselves. Alienate ourselves from the Commonwealth of Nations. People, what they really want is nothing new. With their history, you will know them. Facebook is bringing in some additional comments, and I don't want to get distracted. I'm trying to finish off this last little piece here. But their history, you will know them. By their history, you will know them, he said. This is what the People's United Party and their friends, Guatemala, wanted to do from the very beginning of their party. Move the British out so that Belize can become an associate state of Guatemala. And I think I'll leave it at that and don't read anymore because we're at the time of closing. The chairman is not back yet. And that article there or that commentary goes on quite a bit. It will take quite a few more minutes to go to the end of that. And like I said, the whole article or the whole thing involves literally dozens and dozens and dozens of commentary, and it was a long, hard debate that was being had. We have come to the end of our program for tonight. Our program is supposed to be 1.5 hours. We're at 1.5 hours and 35 seconds and still running. By the time we close off, we might finish close off in another couple of minutes. So I just want to say to you Belizeans at home and abroad, the Belizean Affairs show or platform is here to provide insightful, and educational information to the Belizean people at home and abroad. We hope that whatever we had to say tonight may serve some positive public benefit to Belize and Belizeans at home and abroad. And we thank you for your time spared, and looking forward to see you on our next show, which will be on Wednesday of this coming week. Thank you very much again, and we'd just like to say good night. God bless Belize and Belizeans at home and abroad always.